Well, hello there folks, Agrippa Maxenius coming at you with some Imperator gameplay. We're actually going to be playing with Macedon. I had a lot of fun playing with a bunch of other YouTubers and streamers recently, with pretty much 16 people on a multiplayer game. I'm actually going, if you want to see that I should say, go ahead and head to my Twitch channel. And right now what I'm going to do is go ahead and try and recreate that glory that I had with Macedon. This is definitely one of the better choices for a new player, number one, and also it's got quite a fascinating storyline. So it looks like in Babylon 18 years ago, the Argead king Alexander died suddenly at the age of 32. In the 5 years preceding his death, his continuing military success had reshaped the world as known to the Greeks, his empire stretching uninterrupted from Egypt to the Indus. And really who we're playing as, essentially, is the Antipatrids. And what these guys did was they got rid of any of Alexander's heirs. They didn't want Alexander's heirs taking the kingdom, and of course, one would assume and probably know that his heirs were plenty capable of doing just that. He was just so loved, so revered, that anybody that had any sort of genetic connection to him, was kind of put up there at the very top. But of course, we're going a completely different way. We don't want people worshiping Alexander. We want them worshiping the great Cassander Antipatrid. And I'm hoping that he can do an excellent job at pretty much just being a ruler and keeping Macedon together. This is Macedon, as you can see right here. We've got some enemies. We've also got some essentially client states like Paeonia. But people like Epirus and of course all of the Greeks here to the south, they're a serious threat to us. And unfortunately, because of all of the alliances that they end up having, these guys are going to be very hard to beat in an actual war. If we want to beat them, we're going to have to do it slowly, we're going to have to do it methodically, and we're going to have to take them out little by little, one by one. So first thing I want to do is, of course, go ahead and get started on our inventions, the available inventions, etc. And I think one thing we want to go for is immediately go for income. We also want to get professional soldiers. These are going to be quite important. The starting experience of our units as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select this starting experience and learning on the job. Now, over time, of course, we have these researchers who will unlock different advances for us to, of course, select. Another thing we really want to do is go ahead and try and boost our actual Hellenic sort of, I guess, culture with these actual omens. And these omens you can select, from a number of them here. We're going to go ahead and select, well, we don't actually need national manpower. We're doing okay in terms of national manpower, but maybe we'll actually go for national population growth. We really do want to start building this Hellenic population everywhere. I think there's a few things we need to do here that are going to be very important, and probably the most important thing, at least in my opinion, is to jump over here to the religion panel and make sure that our stability is up. Because stability is actually going to increase our tax rate, it's going to increase our research points. It's just so helpful in this game overall. But currently, we don't have the available religious power to be able to sacrifice to the gods to get that stability. So we really do have to wait just a little bit. Right now our armies are doing pretty well. We've got 21,000 men. We could hire a whole lot more, but I'm not sure we really want to push it right now. Our balance is actually starting to drop, and that is a little bit of a cause for concern. But we're going to fix that by essentially trading. Let me also put somebody in control of this large army, and it's going to be Zoilos. And I'm going to go over here, and what I'm going to do is try and create a trade route. Now, we'll probably be offered trade routes by other powers, so if we can't actually establish one here, it'll be pretty simple to just go ahead and wait for the other powers to go ahead and offer us one. And that actually might be what I do right now, although we do have that one unused trade route in the capital. That's kind of frustrating. And as you can see, we're using one of two. So we could use another one, but I don't see that we have any of these additional goods. We're already receiving things here in Macedonia. It looks like we do have a surplus of glass. So let me go ahead and, can we create a route with the glass? It doesn't look like it. We lack the 25 civic power required. So we really need to go ahead and just continue the game, guys, and pretty much just wait for us to accumulate that civic power. Now, this is quite important. The Wars of the Diadochi. Having built the largest empire the world has ever seen, Alexander the Great died suddenly 10 years ago. With no clear successor to the empire, his generals, the Diadochi, have since fought over Alexander's spoils. So one ruler, Cassander of Macedon, is the son of Antipater, who is the most senior of Alexander's generals and was given the honor to guard his heirs until they came of age. Upon the death of his father, Cassander killed his appointed regent with help from his father's enemies. He then proceeded to kill the heirs and their mothers. And that's our current ruler. Yeah, we pretty much wiped out all of Alexander's imperial line. But maybe, if we can make this right, maybe it was for the good of Macedonia. I think only time will really tell whether or not we made the correct option there. Of course, it's a brutal approach, but these are ancient times, and that's pretty much the way things work. Now, I'm going to go ahead, and I believe we can go ahead and sell some of this hemp. I'm actually going to try to sell it to Dalmatia, and that's going to open up a new trade route. And eventually here, we should be able to pretty much get that treasury back to normal. As you can see, we're already actually increasing the money here in the treasury. So, in his civic capacity, informs us that an opportunity has arisen, one of our most valued temples in dire need of renovation. With enough investment, the building could become a shining beacon to our benevolence and architectural prowess. I think I'm going to go ahead and release the funds. It's going to cost 81, but I certainly think it's worth it. Another thing we want to do here with the macro builder is we want to start building forts in locations where essentially the enemy could break through. Then again, maybe before we start building those forts, we should worry about the marketplace. This is going to actually increase local tax in the area, commerce, and increase our civilization level as well. So for now, I'm actually going to go ahead and get these marketplaces up, but obviously our ultimate goal is to start making a profit and build those forts right there on the borders. We've got a child born, and actually I think it's important. That was Cassander's child. We want to see what our sons are looking like. We've got Phillip the Fourth here, and he is our preferred heir. As you can see, he doesn't have any children, and he is 20. I think we know we need to go ahead and select a young wife for him with some decent traits. This one, honestly, she's not great. What about the 26-year-old? Again, not the best. Perhaps just like CK2, initially in this game, we're not going to have the greatest choice of wives. And I'll show you guys why I paused there in a second. But I am going to take Laodike just because she's the youngest, and I believe we can produce many offspring that hopefully we can, obviously use later. Now, Thrace is calling us into a war against Getia, and that's Getia right there. Pretty darn big. I'm thinking we want to potentially join this war. We would obviously increase our relations with Thrace, but we don't really have any need to grab Getia. I mean, I don't necessarily want to make Thrace stronger, even though they are technically, one of our friends here. So I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to go ahead and decline. Won't be part of that war. Who knows? We might have to fight Thrace eventually. Let's go ahead and continue here and proceed into the future, of course. For our navy, and certainly as Macedon, we want to have a very strong navy. I'm going to go ahead and get Philomenon in charge of it. And I will accept this trade route with Kavia. Again, we are trying to improve our actual income, so I don't mind selling some of our stuff. One thing I really don't want to sell is iron, if I can help it. Let's see here. More wine for army maintenance. No, I think we've done enough. Maybe we'll do one more. Pause that for a second. Yeah, we'll go ahead and sell some vegetables. I want to keep some of our wine. All right, a cousin belonging to one of the lesser branches of the Antipatrid family has become embroiled in a scandal at court. According to eyewitnesses, the youth managed to publicly shame himself in an incident involving a prominent member of government and a fake gemstone. Oh my goodness. So we definitely want the Antipatrid family to actually do quite well. We would gain 5 corruption if we lost money. Our prestige is just not very high right now. But I'm going to go ahead and let the family Antipatrid handle it. We can always get prestige back later. We don't need to focus on it right this second. So I'll go ahead and accept that youthful indiscretion. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. And let's see what we can do here. Oh, yes, we would definitely like to import olives. Import olives, I should say, to the actual Corians. Is that correct? Corcyrians. And as for the Hellenistic city-state of Epidaurus, I think leather, yeah, I think we can accept that. That's really for light infantry. And right now we do have an army, but I think mostly what we want to build, and I believe we can build it in this particular province, is we want to build the Shedtori. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this at all. The Peshetari. These are essentially the heavy infantry of Macedon. So we'd obviously really prefer to build that as opposed to just standard skirmishers. but that's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of research, etc., and obviously a little bit of money, let's face it. Might go ahead and build some more of these marketplaces. I think they're going to have a big use later on. So let's go ahead and drop another marketplace over here, this time in Akanthos. These are pretty nice cities, and we can tell just with the amount of buildings here, these are quite developed for the time period, of course. That being said, we still have a lot of work to do. Now, these are our available mercenaries, so basically the mercenaries that we can hire during our campaign. But right now, I'm not really, looking to actually pick up any mercenaries. One thing I am willing to do, though, is to split this army and turn it into 2 armies. And eventually, we do want to look around here at potential places to invade. Now, the problem is that over here in Greece, guys, they really like to ally together. They like to stick together. And especially against larger powers like our own, they're going to try and pretty much stand out against us. Now, if you take a look here at Acarnania, they have Boeotia and Elis as the actual allies. Let's just take a look here at Boeotia and Elis. So Elis is right here. It might be Elise, and Boeotia is this area right here. It's definitely a place I want to take over eventually. But when I take over, I don't just want to take over this area. I want to take over all of Boeotia as well and basically have a direct connection to the Greeks down here in the south. So that's what I'm going to do. We've got 2 armies now. So let's go ahead and make sure that we get a loyal general. And I think Apollonid is going to be, Philocles Apollonid is going to be just fine. He's confident. He obviously has a lot to learn, but with 8 martial skill, that's not too bad. And I'll go ahead and bring him on to pretty much, lead this army. Obviously, over time, we want to add to these armies before we go to war with any of these other states. And we want to make sure that none of these Greeks down here, like the Athenians or the Spartans, are going to come and help their friends. Because obviously, that would make an already difficult situation even more difficult, if that's possible. Another thing, we want to make sure to have a really nice navy here. That's also going to defend us from pirates, things like that. It's certainly important to have a navy that is going to be able to protect the trade routes that we desperately need to survive. So I'm going to go ahead and make that, obviously, a goal. But we also have this religious power here that the only way we're going to unlock it is over time. It's going to take a little bit of time for us, and there's really not much we can do about it in the meantime. Touched by Hermes. Where did Hermes touch you? That's what I want to know. Ferry has seen a huge influx of traders and travelers from far and wide recently. One of our advisors jokingly suggests we must have been blessed by Hermes himself. It might have been a joke, but paying our dues to the god might be a good idea nonetheless. It could only be a boost in the long-term business, right? So look at this, guys. We actually get a bonus to local tax as well as 105 gold with Hermes. Now, if we thank Hermes, we can go ahead. We will lose 141, which we can't afford to, but we would have gained 25 religious power, which we honestly need to get that stability up. But for now, I'm just going to say we'll be inspired by the god and make the most out of this. So Hermes is going to be quite important to us here. So some of our citizens have left Plerae, Thessaly, to settle down in our vassal Paeonia city of Stobi, Macedonia Secunda. As they get more used to our ways and learn from our citizens, we hope Paeonia will be able to advance and become more civilized as well. After all, this is just part of the agreement that we made with the settled tribe. That doesn't make me very happy. They are, of course, pretty much our vassals, for lack of a better word. But I don't like the fact that our people are moving here out of Macedon proper. And actually, there's a number of things we can do to keep them here. Obviously, building buildings, things like this. But promoting population might be one way to sort of improve some of our relations here. Also, something that's quite important is converting the population. It seems most of them are Hellenistic in nature. But there's going to be obviously a lot of slaves, especially if we have any wars, that we're going to have to convert. They're going to start off as slaves, and for them to be true helots or true, Hellenistics, I think it's probably helots, they're going to have to, of course, learn our ways, accept them, and do their best to promote them in their own areas. So for now, we're just pretty much waiting. We do have another invention here. Now, the military tech investment is pretty good, but I actually want to increase our national tax. The more money we make, obviously the better, and not only does it gain our respect with other nations around the world, it allows us to purchase more things, purchase more units especially. In fact, I'm going to go ahead, jump here, and I am going to... Oh, this is interesting as well, guys. So we have the Olympic Games, and if we win these Olympic Games, we get any number of bonuses. But of course, I'm going to let you guys figure out what those bonuses are. Now, we could either send Harpalos, and he is the Archaeatros of our family, or of our actual government. We'll take a look at what that position is specifically. And Lycurgos is just a researcher. I don't really want our Archaeatros to get hurt. You know, he's essential for our government to run. But then again, he's quite young, and if he gains himself some respect in the games and wins the games, you know, he's going to be somebody that's respected in our kingdom for a long time. And who knows, maybe we can even marry him off to our daughter. So, you know what? I'm going to send him. Although he could get hurt at those games, so we probably took kind of an unnecessary risk. Requesting to import grain. I think we're fine, actually, on imports. We'll sort of ignore that for now. But the Archaeatros, so I guess he loses his position once he leaves for the games. Now, that I didn't expect. And we'll go ahead and get somebody else to be Archaeatros. Somebody with some skill, of course. And I think Hermolaios is going to be the best for this, even though he is the oldest currently. All right, the Olympics have been concluded. Now, unfortunately, we didn't win. However, Cassander, our leader, still gained popularity for sending a warrior to the Olympics, of course. Now, once again, with a macro builder, I am going to go ahead and get just a few more buildings here. And certainly, we want to get those fortresses in time, but I'm going to grab the marketplace for now and see if we can't drop it right here and pretty much generate some income. Anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this Let's Play. I'd love to keep it going, so if you enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel more than you can imagine, and subscribe if you're new to this channel. We've got a lot of different strategy games here, and I'm sure you'll find something you like. Catch you next time, folks.